Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another Mammoth Site video. Today we're going to be talking about a grant given to us by the South Dakota Humanities Council and how it's helping us provide an Atlatl course to for our educational programming. In order to talk about this a little bit better, we've got Dr. Sharon Weaver here to talk about the aspects of the Atlatl class and why it's important at the site. So first and foremost, what is an Atlatl?
So, Atlatl, it is a throwing tool, a tool that's used to throw a long spear. And Seth, you want to tell us a little bit about different designs of Atlatl and how it kind of came about?
Absolutely, yeah. So the earliest evidence of Atlatl is about 15 to 20,000 years old. And we see it on all the continents except for Antarctica and Africa. And we can see there's a couple different variations in the design. For the most part, it's basically basically a stick with a hook on the end. In some cases, we have ones that are using 2 fingers. And what that does is basically, its main goal is to provide an extra little bit of lever arm to the thrower and provide a little bit of extra force and speed at which they can throw a projectile.
So Seth, didn't some of the Atlatls have a weight on them? I know there's stones that have been typically found with Atlatls.
Absolutely, yeah. So our Atlatls are all made of wood. We have one that's got a little bit of bone or antler attached to it. And so in some cases, we can't really find the Atlatl itself just because wood, if the preservation conditions aren't right, doesn't preserve as well. We do have Atlatls from some dry caves in different parts of North America, but in some cases, the way we kind of know what an Atlatl would have looked like and get evidence of Atlatls with different groups is through something we call a banner stone. Now there's a little bit of debate as to what the banner stone would do. It's basically a rock that kind of sits in the middle of the Atlatl. Some think it adds a little bit extra weight that helps you, project a little bit more force in your throw. Some think there's probably some kind of ceremonial or religious purposes with it. It's not entirely certain. As they find more, they're going to get a little bit different, a little bit more evidence and a little bit more, information about what the banner stones truly mean. But we can also see some evidence of Atlatls through projectile points. So stone points are common across the world, and figuring out different kinds of cultures that made them. One of the earliest groups, the Clovis people from North America, that are about 13,000 years, if I remember correctly, so about 13,000 years ago. And we can see these different points and how we can just kind of track them and see, these people were in this area at this time, and kind of see how the stone tool making kind of developed through time.
And so Seth, one of the things you mentioned was force.
Mm-hmm.
How much force do you think an Atlatl could have had? Could that have easily hunted animals for these people?
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, one of the things to try to figure out is, exactly how much force we get out of one of these. And we can kind of see, we'll do a little bit of a demonstration later, but we can see, in some areas where we find Atlatl points in association with things like bison. A couple places where there looks like there might have been some kind of Atlatl in association with things like mammoths, llamas. Basically, whenever animals were around with something, they were probably going to hunt. So things like deer, pronghorns, especially in North America, bison, of course, and just a variety of different animals. Basically, what food is available, small game as well, so things like rabbits and hares as well. And
so one question many people may have is, why are we teaching about Atlatls here at the Mammoth Site? Well, here at the Mammoth Site, we are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we're an educational and scientific research center. And one of the main things that we're trying to understand is the overall ecology, biology, and whole region of the Black Hills during the late Pleistocene. And so what was one of the bigger predators during the Pleistocene, Seth?
Well, definitely one of the big ones that that a lot of people don't necessarily consider as part of the ecosystem, but it's one that is definitely a part of the ecosystem and is still part of the ecosystem today, is us as humans.
Correct. And so us as humans is why we're talking about Atlatls and hunting, because we were one of the big predators then, and so we hunted many of the large species during the late Pleistocene that we actively find fossils and work on fossils here at the Mammoth Site.
Absolutely. And we don't have any evidence of humans here at the site, correct?
We do not. We're too old, so there are no human evidence here at the Mammoth Site. But we do study other animals that humans had hunted. For example, bison. So should we talk a little bit about bison?
Absolutely, yeah. So bison are definitely kind of a symbol of the West out here in North America. And there's it's one thing people have mostly seen the North American bison or bison, but there's actually a couple different varieties that are found through time. First and foremost, might as well talk about bison antiquus. So
yeah.
This is the one that's basically they think might be the closest to the modern bison.
Yes, and so bison antiquus, we studied those from a particular fossil site in Minnesota called the Snake River Fossil Site. We were just out there in May, and we found a second skull. This particular skull, was found in 2019, and we 3D scanned it and 3D printed it at a smaller size. But bison antiquus is pretty well known bison, and humans actively hunted them among the other species of bison too.
One that I always like to talk about is bison priscus, or the steppe bison. This one's kind of cool because we find this one, if I'm not mistaken, in Europe and Eurasia as well as North America. So it's thought this is the one that kind of crossed the land bridge into North America during the Pleistocene. And the oldest evidence of these guys in North America is about 200,000 years old, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. And so that's actually one of the defining characters for a particular land mammal age.
The rancho la brain, correct?
Correct.
And then, of course, the last one. So these are all to scale with each other. So to give you an idea, they are reduced in size so that way we can hold them easily. This one, if it was full scale, would be about 8 feet between each of its horn tips. This is bison latifrons, the longhorn bison, as it's known. And so as you can see, it's a pretty distinctive one. So you can see it's got the huge horns that come through it. And we can also see with this one, since it's got this huge headgear, it's also going to have a lot of more muscle attachments on its vertebrae. So it's going to have taller spines on its vertebrae.
Correct, and so it's going to have a higher arch to its back, which is going to be pretty cool. And just so you guys know, the inside section here, this is bone, and you would have that keratin sheath, just like keratin you have in your nails, that would come out and extend outwards. So these guys were pretty large animals.
So we've been talking a lot about the history of atlatls and the history of some of the animals that might have been hunted. So let's talk about the class itself a little bit. So we talked about why archaeology is important to us as a site. What makes an Atlatl class kind of different from most scientific class offerings?
Well, we've been doing this Atlatl program for a number of years. It kind of started out when we started doing more Boy Scout groups, now Scouts, with the Archaeology Merit Badge. And this class is very fun and unique because you get to actually participate and do experimental archaeology.
Yeah, so one part of archaeology is sometimes they find artifacts that they can't quite figure out the exact use of, and so they make a replica of it and try to figure out different ways that it could be used and see or try to get some data from it. You don't want to if you're finding an Atlatl, you don't want to be using that directly to find that evidence because you don't want it to fall apart, you don't want it to get damaged. But we can make replicas and test those out so we can get an idea of the specifications of that artifact, whether it's an Atlatl or something else, to get an idea of how effective it would be as a tool.
Yeah, and even like your technique and how you throw. One of the things that's kind of fun is people get to try, standing this direction, standing that direction, maybe trying one of the different tools, which one works best for me, which is kind of fun.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's one of the really cool things about this part of the science is it doesn't tell us exactly this is how it was done, but it's a way of showing this is one method that might have worked for them. And it's kind of cool because it's a part of the active science, as Dr. Weaver said.
So Seth, how have we improved upon the class in recent years?
Absolutely, yeah. So through the grant provided by the South Dakota Humanities Council, we were able to get new darts, which are a little bit better than the ones that we had before, and we were able to get a lot of them, which is really nice. So that way we can throw them, make sure that they hold together really well.
What's special about these darts?
So what's really nice about these is we've got the fleshing. They were made by Thunderbird Atlatl, and they've also got points. This one we have a point removed, so that way we knew which one we were going to use for the video. But they have points that that are affixed to the tip, so that way they fly a little bit better. They aren't going to fall apart as easily.
And the balance.
And the balance is a little bit better as well. I got to find the balance point. But overall, it's also really nice because it provides a standard dart. So before this, we made our darts on site, and so there's a little bit of variation as we were trying to figure out which ones would work best. And so through the grant, we were able to purchase some ones that had already been pre-made, so that way they know, okay, this is what works best for the widest variety of people. Because that's one of the really fun things about this class is it's for people of all ages from 8 and up.
Right. Well, and that's what's also nice about an Atlatl. It's like you don't need to be physically strong to throw an Atlatl.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, like in just a minute, like I said, I'll show you guys the difference between me throwing just a dart versus me throwing with an Atlatl, and there's a marked difference. One thing that definitely I get a lot more force, but I also get a lot more precision out of it. When I throw it with my hand, it just kind of goes across. But when I throw it, with the actual Atlatl, I can, usually get it to within, I'd say 5 or 10, inches of my target, depending on
how
where
much
I'm aiming.
practice he had during the day.
Yeah, I'm a little bit rusty at the moment. But what's also really cool about this class is it's different from a normal science class in that, when a lot of people think of science classes, they think of, experiments, holding those, in like a lab setting. And in this case, this is one that, it's more like physical education.
Yeah, you get to be outside, you get to, work out, throwing the darts yourself, and work on improving your hand-eye coordination, which is also really great.
And in addition to that, speaking of being outside, another part of ways we've improved this class through the years is we've actually added our Atlatl field shade structure. We have actually a designated field for it. We've made targets. We've got 3 up there right now, but we're working on making some more. And we're also able, through the grant, to purchase some number of tables that we can use depending on the group size. That way we can make sure that things are spaced out, everybody's safe, things like that.
Yeah, this awning up above us is a huge improvement. That has made such a big difference because we here in South Dakota get really hot, sunny days, and so this has really kind of helped provide the shade and comfort for people.
Absolutely, it's really fun to be able to offer a class, but since this is a class that needs to be outdoors, we can't really do it in the wintertime, and in the summer it can get pretty warm, so having a shade structure helps immensely with that, exactly as you said.
Very much so. And our new targets, which are great because they actually self-heal.
Yeah, the targets, they hold together a little bit better, so we're able to get like self-healing foam, with some carpet padding backing, just some extra cushions, so that way they hold together a little bit better. And so with that, we're going to demonstrate a little bit. So behind us, you've been seeing some of our interns throwing atlatls, getting some practice. As you can see, we get got some pretty good shots on target through time. I'm going to grab a couple darts so I can show you a little bit about how exactly an atlatl improves, and also how we can throw an atlatl. So I'm going to grab. Let's see which one I want to pick.
Pick one of your favorites, Seth.
I'm going to go with this one. This one's a little bit smaller, but it gets a lot of force behind it. So, first, I'm going to show the red dart. Set this down so that way I don't accidentally, try to throw both of them at the same time. So, without an atlatl, I can get it, maybe halfway across the field. But now, with an atlatl, and one thing you'll notice is that with an atlatl, I don't have to throw with my full force to get the distance. I can just, and it goes all the way to the end of the field, which is really nice because, again, it provides a little bit more power. It's kind of like the step between throwing a projectile by hand and using something like a bow and arrow. And so it's kind of interesting to see, it's basically being part of like the process of humans, experimenting, figuring out, okay, what works best for the, what's the right tool for the job. And this one's kind of neat too because with an atlatl itself, since it is essentially a stick with a hook on the end, it's something that can be made, the resources you need to make it are fairly, simple. They're easy to, get your hands on. So it's something that a lot of different groups of people can, in fact, that we can see, across a wide variety of environments. We can see slight differences based off the environment, what's available, what's not, things like that.
So Seth, is it taking a lot of physical strength, or is it more so in?
It's interesting. It's actually with the atlatl class, and I can throw it about across the field, but I can't throw it as accurately. But it's more about the technique than the actual physical strength itself. The big thing is, what it does is you can kind of see as I'll demonstrate. So you wind up and kind of go like that, and your shoulder moves, your arm moves, and then lastly your hand kind of moves a little bit. And so having the technique down is honestly more important than actually, just like throwing it as hard as you can.
One of my favorite things to watch in this class is watching how the younger kids typically outthrow the adults in this class.
Oh yeah, it's one of the fun things. You'll see it. It's one of those things I always like to say. It's easy to learn, difficult to master. So there are people that have been throwing for years and they're still kind of perfecting their throw. But at the same time, you can still have people that are it's their first time throwing. They throw and they perfect hit on target, and it's really, really fun. And it's exciting for everybody involved because it's the idea of you're taking part in something that's been a part of humanity for the last 15,000, 20,000 years, which is really cool.
It's amazing.
With that.
Yeah, so we really appreciate all the feedback that we've been getting from the public in regards to the class. I think the class has really grown and has really developed into something that's very educational, hands-on, interactive, and just overall a lot of fun.
Absolutely, and once again, this would not have been possible without the help of the South Dakota Humanities Council, who gave us a grant for $1,000 to kind of improve some of the facilities we have and improve our equipment that we were using for the class. And again, it's really fun because as you've talked about, it's science, but not in the way that most people are familiar with science.
That's right. And we want to welcome anybody and everybody to come out within the age room limit to come out and participate in the Atlatl class this summer. How long does it run till?
Yeah, so it runs until August 15th. So that's when we end our summer classes for the year. You know, and with it, we typically offer about 2 classes a day, so one in the morning and one in the afternoon. And you can kind of see, you know, depending on when you're visiting, you can stop by, see the targets, you know, test it out at one of those classes.
And do we do special stuff for school groups and things like
Absolutely,
that as well?
yeah. If you're a part of a school group, part of educational, you know, an educational group, we do offer, you know, specially scheduled class times, things like that, special rates as well.
Yeah, and this is among some of our other educational programming we have here at the site too.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, as you know, you've been a part of education here for a while. It's one of the things that one of our main goals is to, you know, get people involved in the science and, you know, experiencing what it's like to be a scientist without necessarily having to, you know, spend, you know, the decades of you know, learning and education.
It's the best way to learn stuff is to be able to spend time getting your hands dirty, hands-on interactive. And so through our junior paleo classes, our advanced paleo classes, and even our adult volunteer program, the Ice Age Explorers, I think we have a really well-rounded program for education, and we're just growing. So we're just going to keep developing new stuff and exciting things.
Absolutely, and like I said, it wouldn't be possible without the generosity of groups like the South Dakota Humanities Council.
So yeah, well, thank you.
Thank you guys.